Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Once again, I'm Nev from Nev's Tac Bets, otherwise known as your friendly neighborhood basement dweller. Don't worry, ma'am, I am from the internet, and today I want to talk about activism, hacktivism, versus TikTok complaining, and just in general trying to get your way. Now, back in the day, I joined Project Chanology for reasons that didn't directly have anything to do with me or anybody that I knew, but I knew one thing for sure: religion should be free. Scientology was not. You had to pay between $15,000 and $30,000 to learn about OT3, Operating Thetan 3, where you learn that all of our negative emotions that we have don't come from just who we are or biology, but in fact come from dead aliens that existed in other places. Xenu wanted to goof the floof, intergalactic lord, and he was like, oh, they're trying to take me down, so we're going to take all of these aliens and drop them off at the base of volcanoes on a planet called Tigiak, which was Earth. Or they'll either drop them directly into, I believe it was Mount Fuji, or around the bottom, and they traveled there in spacecraft that looked distinctively like DC-8s, and they blew the whole thing up. Now here's what really ticks me off. I am a card-carrying member of the Pirate Party of Canada, number 359, and that's not how things go. That's not how we should be doing things. We have to have open, free religion, and if any religion is cult-like to Scientology, that's a big freaking deal. Now these days we have TikTok, the hive mind of TikTok. A hive mind being multiple people coming in, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, and ultimately being one big mind of information. Now, these minds can definitely be taken over. Back in the day, everyone said anonymous versus Scientology. There was no leader, but there was a leader. There absolutely was a leader. There absolutely was a system, and everybody knew exactly who they were. And in different places, the cops knew who they were too. Now, I want to draw likeness to TikTok, the TikTok hive mind, which isn't anywhere near what it was before Trump got in the second time. Man, Trump getting in the second time changed a whole lot. I swear to God, in Canada, the Conservatives would have gotten in if Trump hadn't gotten in. Down there, up here, we went with the Liberals again, and let's see how that rolls for us, because it legitimately seems like the Liberals are more interested in minorities than the young or the people who already live here. Now, TikTok is a giant problem these days for many men, especially younger men, and not just men, but a lot of people who are of the idea or the persuasion that the patriarchy and colonial Christianity, all of these things, I've had many progressive people come to me and say, Nevin, you don't know this, but you benefited by being white and part of the patriarchy being male. Bitch, you don't know where I come from. You don't know what my life is like. You don't know where I've been. Now, I have particular disabilities. Do I look like a normal individual? No. Normal girls especially don't like to date me because I'm just a bit too far out there and I am too much. Now, that kind of bothers me because I think that I go with reality. I look at the reality of the situations where people like to look at how much money they could make or what's between their legs or how they could dominate in a conversation, which is really a pain in the ass. Now, these days, we have an ideal that came from TikTok. It's not there so much anymore. It was there, and damn, it can come back. And that was this fourth wave feminism. And it was a nut job thing. It really is a nut job thing. We need third wave feminism, but the thing is, the TikTok feminists can't tell the difference between third and fourth, and that is a distinct problem because we need equality. We need equal rights across the board. White people shouldn't have more rights than black people. Straight people shouldn't have more rights than homosexuals. But we're pretty much past a lot of that now. It was Daddy Trudeau Sr., that made sure that man, it was really nuts. So these feminists do have a bit of a leg to stand on when it comes to some of their complaints. Like, for example, it was possible. Oh man, this is dark. This one's really dark. But in the 70s, you could not rape your wife. You couldn't. I mean, you could, but you couldn't be tried for it. But second wave feminists at shelters and whatnot saw this, and they petitioned the government. to have that change. And now it's changed. The definition has changed from rape to sexual assault, which it should have, been the whole frickin' time. But what really absolutely blows my mind is women have not had this level of rights until maybe the 80s. Maybe the 80s. My family even has complaints. There was a time my mother wanted to get a kiln, but she couldn't get a loan unless my dad signed. Now, she feels like that was because she was a woman. I'm kind of wondering if these days they just wanted a cosigner and they didn't care if it was a man or woman. But either way, she found another bank. She took it the way she did, and bless her. That's an American, bless your heart. That's not a Southern. There's a vast difference. But the thing is, what's terrifying about that is I looked it up. Who made the freaking law? Who made this law that a man couldn't rape his wife? Or you know what I mean. And it goes all the way back to the 1600s in England. And everyone was a little bit different then. And the guy that made the law was, I think he meant the best, but he definitely screwed up on a lot of things. And he is guilty of sending 2 women to their death being witches for sending bugs and mice against children that I guess they were babysitting, and the kids didn't like him too much, so they basically accused him of being witches. And he was like, okay, she's a witch, let's deal with her. But sorry, I got to get back to what we're talking about. Now, I want to talk about the evil. Now, we have the activism. Now, with the activism, we have people going out, not just sitting at home and making videos, but going out onto the streets. I particularly went to Kitchener, and while I was there, I had to get someone to help me go to the front. And when I was doing that, people had the ability to follow me. I don't think they did. They might have. But what we have now is activists that just sit online. They sit on their phone in the goodness of their own home. And when people are sitting in their home and saying stuff, they have a lot more daring. Now, I love animals. I don't think there's anything better than a woman that has a dog. So what I'm about to say, don't take it the wrong way, because I know damn well you're going to. But there was something that I noticed when I was listening to a dog trainer, when he was talking about... They were talking about a famous dog, I think it was the Beethoven dog, and they were living in that place that Full House likes to act like it was shot at. There's a place in Seattle that just has a beautiful park and a whole bunch of townhouses around it, and they opened the door. The dog was normally perfectly good, but as soon as the dog seen dogs across the road on the other side of the road, while his door was open and he was in his house, he seemed to have this mentality that the dogs were actually in his house, so he went out to fight them. And what I see going on with a lot of people, men included, is that when you are on your phone and taking things in, you react a lot differently than you would if you were outside. If you were outside, some of these things affect you a little different. You're not in your own space. And when we're outside, we're all supposed to wear masks so we can all meet in the middle, so that some people aren't dicks and some people aren't, we have to meet in the middle. Now, one of the reasons why we have pupils, and it's so good, is we can see where people are looking. So we can see if they're looking away. There's some creatures that absolutely don't like it when you're looking at them. And you can mad dog people. Or there's the Indian stare. Now, a lot of people get pissed off when I say that, but the reality of it is there are just some people in India that don't realize they're not supposed to stare. And, I'm guilty of doing some stupid things myself, but that's one thing that we can all look at. Anyways, that was a big evolutionary thing. It was a big evolutionary thing, but now we have activists who are destroying the concept of society and marriage. And the more I look at it, the more I don't think that they're interested in society. They're interested in themselves. They're interested in what they themselves can get, which is a very dark idea, because especially if you're in a family, yeah, you're supposed to think about yourself, but also you are part of a complex system that is that as a whole is more important than the individual pieces. If you want to raise kids well, then it's best to have a man and a woman. Not all relationships are good. There are some that absolutely should not be. But just because we need to change certain things in our society doesn't mean that we need to destroy the idea of relationships, the idea of marriage. It seems very quickly that a lot of fourth wave feminists these days, just as soon as they hear any problem, are just like, dump him, divorce him, get away from him, be your own woman, be yourself. But it's been clinically proven, and there are clinical psychologists that will tell you this. Only women can check women on their bad ideas. Only women can check women on their bad ideas. And also, by default, life is hard. Many of the women that I see complaining online about society being all about the patriarchy and colonialism and Christianity don't seem to be far enough into their Buddhist phase that they don't know that the default of life is not happiness. It's not like we fire out of the womb and God has made a life where we're supposed to have a lovely story laid out for us that we waltz on through like it's an adventure, like it's a movie where we don't have to make good choices and the end of it isn't always good. No, life is hard. Life is freaking rough. There are a lot of people that will simply die because they drank water too close to where somebody else took a dump. There's people who will die for no other reason than a mutation that went on in their blood that managed to reach the lymph nodes. That's the chaoticness of life. That's the chaoticness of life. Shit happens, and what you gonna do? Now here's what we need to do though. You see all these internet activists, but how many of them are actually interested in what's good for society versus what's good for themselves? How many of them are out there protesting? How many of them actually go out there to protest something in their own time? I'm not talking about Google workers who go out and protest things while they're on company time, while they're being paid company time. I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about the ones that actually go out. They'll wake up at 6 o'clock on a Sunday to be at a protest at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. There's so many non-progressive people that have decided if they want to do something and not get protested, they have to do it really early. And that's all it takes because the progressives are too busy frickin' partying and drinking and doing stuff for themselves. Wow, that really says something about a lot of people. Now, things have really changed since Donald Trump took over. We need feminism, but we need these feminists to understand what the difference between third and fourth wave is, and it's not just them. It's not just them. In Canada, for example, we have an overabundance of people protesting and shutting down roads for things that have nothing to do with Canada. Nothing to do. Like right now, there's a big hoopla and roads being closed in Toronto because people are upset with what's going on between Iran and Israel and the fact that America's getting involved. Okay, I've given you the people involved. What does Canada have to do with this? What can Canada do about these things? We're also in a housing crisis. We're in an opioid epidemic, and we are in an affordability crisis with food. Greedflation is run wild. But do you think anyone goes out and protests about those things? No. 20% of people here haven't been born here. 17% of our ruling class haven't been born here, and they all really frickin' seem to be globalists that are more interested in other things. Now, a globalist is somebody who knows that, let's say this is a pencil, okay? The wood was gathered from Indonesia, the lead was gathered by, I don't know, Ethiopia, the rubber and the eraser was made, I don't know, the Netherlands, and the metal that was used to make it was made in China. Now we need all of these things to come together and cog together, and all of these things are very important. Yes, and that is absolutely true. But at the same time, the people saying this stuff, the people saying, oh, we need to help all of those countries, if you look into it, they don't give two shits about any of those countries. What they care about is how much money they have in their wallets. Now, that's very true. Now, in Canada, we have a whole lot of people that are running the country that seem very much more interested in other countries than our own. In fact, we had someone in the Liberal Party that was given a lot of shit because while a Canadian military was deployed in other countries to help Canadian citizenship, in one situation at least, the people that were supposed to be protected had less protection because interests or having to go protect other people. Now, here's the thing about those other people. If you listen with your heart to what they're going through, and if you just listen to them, if you just get their side, they're completely innocent. However, if you go back in time, and if you ask the other party that they're fighting against what's going on, you're going to find out that no one's really innocent. In our darkest hour, we're all just shades of gray. And, like, let's face it, in the Israelites versus the Muslims, holy crap, that goes back forever. That goes back forever. We shouldn't have anything to do with that. We have homelessness in Canada. We have affordability. Like, I've just gone through all the stuff, the problems that we have in Canada. But no one is particularly interested in looking at that. They're interested in looking at other things. If we try to say, hey, look, the lower class doesn't have enough, and because of that, they're getting addicted to things. The girls are selling themselves into sex work and OnlyFans, a lot of these things. But instead of doing that, what our government and what our progressives are more interested in is, oh, these poor people who are addicted to stuff, how do they identify? And does society let them identify as what they want to be? They want to be a man, they want to be a woman. Who cares? Who cares if they can't eat? If we can't get them a place to stay? And like now in Canada, what we have is we have all kinds of people from other nations coming here and claiming this, that, or the other thing, and our progressives won't even check them. In the States, we also have this problem. People saying that there is no way that a person is illegal. There are no illegals. And I say, we need to vet each and every one of them to make sure, at the very least, that they're not child molesters. And I say that as an individual who has seen some shit online. Like I said, Project Chanology, what happened during the Ides of March? Okay, now, Reddit, what happened on the r/jailbait incident? Yeah, maybe they were above the ages of 15, and technically that makes the people who enjoy the content habophiles. I don't even know how to pronounce the damn name, but at the same time, it is this freaking close to C-Peach, how porn. It is that freaking close. So, what are we going to do? Now, the thing I need to do is figure out how I get the proper voice to deal with this stuff. Because, man, when I see that stuff, I turn into Rorschach. I swear to God, I am not good with it. I see evil and I become like a chaotic kind of, fiercely chaotic. Like, why are you here? Why is this here? And then women will be like, Nevin, you have no idea what it's like to be taken advantage of. Hey, maybe I do know what it's like to be taken advantage of. And a lot of these progressives have said things like you've never been raped. Well, guess what? I have. Men can have it too. Guess what, sister? We have problems with this stuff. We have problems with this stuff, and it's not just the women. It's the men too. Men need some of this help too. But you don't hear me going and talking about this stuff. But hey, there's a lot of stuff people don't want to hear because it's not romantic. It's because it's not, this, that, or the other thing. We have so much media that has us desensitized to the fact that women get taken advantage of. But if I want to talk about how men get taken advantage of, everyone... Because, oh, you're hurting my head. You're hurting my head. So we have this reality of stuff that nobody wants to look at, nobody wants to see, nobody wants to deal with, and it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. People don't want to know what went on in 4chan back in the day. But if you take a look at the adult threads, you'll see stick-it notes that are the result of the war that happened. r/jailbait got removed because the light of CNN had a look at it. The day I told my dentist to check out r/jailbait was the day that they had the big debacle. And man, I look bad and she won't ever put her boobs on my shoulder again. It's horrible. It's horrifying. But the darkest stuff is the stuff that nobody wants to look at. And the stuff we need to deal with is the stuff that's not always all that romantic. That's why it took so long for feminists to get the power that they have. They needed it. They absolutely needed it. It's a good thing that they have more of it now. Maybe they need a little more. I remember somebody said the tree of liberty needs to be fed with the blood of, individuals every now and then. Feminism is probably something like that, and I hate saying that, but let's face it, if you get the strong, the men, that want to make the rules, yeah, you're going to have to go up against them. You're going to have to go up against them. And all of that is uncomfortable. It's unconscionable. But when it comes to internet activism, I'm seeing too many people being activists for themselves and their own problems. I'm not seeing anybody being activists for the problems that hurt the marginalized, the truly marginalized. And we can't even talk about men's mental health. I'm not here to talk about men's mental health. I'm using it as a thing, as an example. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. Thanks for listening to my rant. I appreciate you guys, and have a good one. Take care of each other.